today's video, we're going to be talking all about money. More specifically, we're going to talk about some minimalist habits that can help you save money. Hi, my name is Heather, and on my channel, I share all about my minimalism journey, decluttering, and motherhood tips. And so in this video, I thought it would be fun to share some really truly life-changing habits that have changed my life when it comes to my finances. And my hope is that by sharing them with you guys, that it can help you with your finances as well. So some of these habits I started long before I ever even knew what a minimalist was, when I was more so focused on becoming debt-free. But I think that they really go hand in hand with being a minimalist and just a lot of those values and principles. So my very first tip is to write everything down. And I mean everything, down to the dollar. And the reason for this is when you write down your expenses, it really helps you to see how much you are spending in all the different categories. And then you can better understand how you can cut back in different areas. So my favorite way to keep track of our finances is just a simple app called Every Dollar. It's through Dave Ramsey, and I just use the free version on my phone, and it has really helped me to create a monthly budget and track my finances and be able to see where every single dollar is going. But if you're someone who is more tactile, you can definitely just use a pen and paper as well, or maybe you prefer to use a spreadsheet. Whatever method works best for you. I think this is the very first thing that anyone should do when they're taking a look at their finances and trying to save money, because it's hard to save money if you don't really know where your money is going to begin with. And when we did this for the very first time, we realized we were spending so much in certain categories that we had no idea that we were spending that much on. For example, when we started this financial journey a couple of years ago, my husband and I probably would have said that we spent very little money on eating out. But when we started tracking our expenses, it ended up being way more than we would have ever thought. And in turn, we were able to make a change and really focus on eating more at home. And as you're thinking about your expenses and tracking everything, one question that I would consider is to think about how much money you make per hour and multiply that by however much the item costs that you are wanting to purchase. So for example, let's say you see a pair of jeans at the store and they cost $100 and you make $20 an hour. Think about, is that pair of jeans worth 5 hours of your time spent working? This really helped me a lot when I first started trying to get out of debt. I would think about, is it worth all of that time I spent making that money for this one purchase? And it really helped to put things into perspective and a lot of times to not purchase the item. All right, so the second habit is to spend intentionally. Really think about your purchases before you actually make them. This could look like maybe waiting 24 hours after you see an item and then see if it's something that you still want or you're still thinking about. Or maybe it could look more like having a certain amount of money set aside for fun purchases. Or maybe it could look like just asking yourself more questions before you buy an item. One question that I like to ask is, this item actually going to add value to my life or to my family's life? And if it doesn't, then it doesn't make the cut and we don't purchase it. And I think this really goes hand in hand with the whole idea of being minimalist, because as a minimalist, you are intentionally taking fewer things into your home. And in doing so, you are being more intentional about the things that you do decide to bring into your home. And so I feel like it kind of naturally helps you to save money when you're adopting those minimalistic principles. All right, the third habit is to always know what you need and make a list before you go shopping. So this could be before you go to the grocery store, it could be before you go to the clothing store or the baby clothing store, whatever you're looking to purchase. Go ahead and take inventory of what you have and know what you need before you go. And so this comes into play all the time in my household. I am a list maker. I always make a grocery list for my husband before he goes to the store, or for myself if I'm the one going to make the purchases. And I really try my best to stick to that list. My husband, not always so much, but he really tries. And that will really help you, because if you're going without knowing what you need, you're more likely to just purchase random things and a lot more of what you don't need. All right, number 4 kind of goes hand in hand with that last habit, and that is to only buy as much as you need and only purchase as soon as things are already used up. So we are not bulk shoppers, and I'm not saying that that's bad, and it can actually save you money, especially if you have a really big family. But I've just noticed in our household that if we wait until we use things up, we're more likely to use every last bit of it and really make it last. And if we buy a bunch of the same thing, thinking that we're saving money or we're trying to have a backstock, oftentimes we don't end up using it and it ends up expiring and going bad anyway. And so in the long term, it doesn't end up saving us money. All right, habit number 5 is to choose quality over quantity. This can apply to all different areas of your life, but one of the biggest ones that I have found that I've been applying it to lately is things like shoes and clothing, coats, things that you know that you'll get a lot of use out of if you really focus on high quality. And when you focus on those higher quality pieces, then you probably only need 1 or 2 that you can rotate out, as opposed to maybe 5 or 10 of the same thing at a cheaper price that's going to wear out more quickly. Another example would be maybe furniture in your home. Instead of buying cheaper furniture that's going to get messed up really quickly, maybe you might want to focus on higher quality pieces that are more expensive and more of an investment, but that you know will last you longer. All right, habit number 6, and I used to be the worst about this one, and that is don't buy it just because it's on sale. So if you really think about it, if you see something that's on sale that you weren't actually looking to purchase to begin with, and you see that it's 50% off, and you go and purchase it, you're like, I need this item, it's 50% off, I've got to have it, I'm saving money, right? But if you had never gone to purchase that item that you didn't need, then you would have saved 100% of your money and kept it in your bank account. So this is one that I joke about with my husband, because when he goes to the store, a lot of times he'll come back and he'll say, I saved us money. And I'll be like, what do you mean? And he'll say, oh, I found these things on sale. And I was like, well, what are we going to use it for? And I'll say, I don't know, but they were on sale, so I saved us money. I'm just picking on him because he said I could. But if you really think about it, those items aren't saving you money if you didn't need them in the first place. Okay, but I feel like I should throw in a little caveat to that, and that is if it's something you do need. For example, maybe you have an Amazon account. One thing that I like to do is I keep a little cart of things that I actually do want to purchase, and I'll leave them in there until they go on sale or see if they go on some kind of discount and wait until then to buy them. All right, habit number 7 is to know the purpose for an item that you want to purchase before you buy it and bring it home. So a perfect example for me is the Target dollar spot. There have been so many times when I used to just stroll down that little aisle and see all of these $5, $3, $1 items and think, oh, that is so cute. I feel like I need to buy that, but I don't have any idea what I'm going to use it for. And just go ahead and purchase it and figure out what I'm going to use it for later. And oftentimes those items just end up piling up or sitting in your closet in storage, and they never get used because you didn't have a purpose in mind for them to begin with. So if you are looking in the store and you see something, maybe take a picture of it or make a note of it, and then go home and see if there's a place that it fits into your home and makes sense, and then go back and purchase it. But a lot of times we can get into that trap of buying things just because they're cute or just because they don't cost that much. And really, we're still wasting money if we don't end up using them anyway. All right, number 8 is to have an emergency fund. This is one that has been such a game changer for me and my husband, and we started this probably about 3 years ago when we first got married. And we just keep about $1,000 in cash, and you could just have like maybe a separate savings account or whatever works best for you. We like to just keep it in cash so it's completely separate from everything else, and it's really easy to access in case we need it. But by having that little emergency fund, if something does happen, for example, the car breaks down or you need a new AC unit in your home, or your heat goes out, things like that that are truly an emergency, then you don't have to worry about going into debt or putting it on credit because you have that fund already there ready to go. And if you do end up having to use any of that balance, then you go ahead and start paying it back as soon as you can, build it back up to 1,000 or however much you want to keep in there, and then you're good to go again. But you always want to make sure that it stays at that balance. If you have to use it, make sure you're going ahead and putting that money back in so you always have that fund available to you. And it's going to depend on what life stage you're in and the different things that are going on in your life, how much you want to keep in there. 1,000 has worked pretty well for us. I can't think of maybe one time that we've ever had to use it, if that. But when we were pregnant with our son, we kept a little more in there. I think about maybe 5,000 because we didn't know if there were going to be any extra expenses related to the pregnancy or delivery. And so we kept it bulked up just a little bit more in that kind of situation, just in case. All right, so number 9 is to spend within your means only and don't spend more than you make. That seems like, duh, Heather, of course you're not going to spend more than you make. But people do it all the time in the form of going into debt. But if you pay attention and keep a budget and track your expenses, then it's a lot easier to realize how much you can actually spend without going over. And even if you make a very small amount, you can do this, because I did this when I was still single, working as a teacher, not really making very much money, living in Dallas, so it was pretty expensive in the area that I lived in. But once I figured out my budget, I realized even though I wasn't making that much money, I could stick to it as long as I kept a track of all of my expenses and saw where my money was going. All right, so habit number 10 is to live debt-free. And this is actually one that we are still working on, but it's very high priority and we've paid off so much already. We're just down to one last student loan, but it is such a game changer when you make the decision to live debt-free, because it frees up so much of your money, so much stress of having your money go all these different directions. One of the best decisions that I personally made was to stop using credit cards. Not saying there's anything wrong with it if you do use credit cards, but if you do, then at least try to pay it off at the end of every month, because that way you're not having money tied up into all of these different things. Instead, all of your money is yours to spend on whatever you want to spend it on or whatever you need to spend it on, instead of being forced to give it to all of these different companies every single month. Just imagine if every single dollar that came into your account was yours to choose where it goes. And another reason to live debt-free is it really frees up your decisions in life. It gives you more freedom of location. If you need to move around, you're not trapped because you can't afford it because of all your debt payments, or maybe you want to take a job that pays less but is something that you would really love to do, then you would be more likely to be able to afford to do that if you are debt-free. And then all of that money that you are saving, because you're not sending it out to different debt collectors, goes in your savings or wherever you want it to go. And it's so much easier and so much faster to save up that money than if you're sending it out to all of these different companies. All right, so those are my 10 minimalist money saving habits that I truly wish I had have known so much sooner. And so I really hope that you found them helpful. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and continue to join me on this journey. And I would love to hear any suggestions or tips or habits that you use to save money. Be sure to leave me a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.